Yep.
And I took off.
That's wrong.
Okay, I'd like to open the Warrenton Board of Aldermen meeting, go into the public hearing. Home Bakery SP-88.
Good evening, everyone. First item we have is a site plan approval request for Hometown Bakery, SP-88, to be located at 412 North Highway 47. I would like to ask to make part of the public hearing record the municipal code by reference, the public hearing notices, and my planning and zoning report. On October 3rd, 2014, a request was filed for site plan approval for a bakery restaurant to be located at 412 North Highway 47. Property is zoned RC1 Planned Business District. Per Appendix A, 3 commercial, G retail sales and service, 4 bakery, commercial or wholesale bakery with limited walk-in retail, 5 bakery retail trade, 16 food services, walk-in, walk-up restaurants, walk-in, walk-up restaurants with drive-through, drive-in and or drive-through. A conditional use permit is required. This site plan approval request has been submitted by the applicant along with a conditional use permit, CUP 40, approval request as required per section 405.340 C8 of the City Code. Motion for approval passed 9-0 with 1 absent at the November 6, 2014 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, with the condition that upon written permission from the property owners on the east side of the alley adjacent to the site plan, the applicant install a fence that extends the full length of the owner's property, and the proposed fence is in compliance with fence regulations per the City Code requirements.
Anybody from the public?
For the record, I'm Bart Corman with Lewis and Beatty Surveyors and Engineers. Also, Bart Berneking. Bart Berneking Architects are here representing the owners and the site. We can go into a lot of detail during a regular meeting, but during the Planning and Zoning, we addressed most of the concerns of the neighbors and the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Okay. Is there anybody else from the public? Alderman? Okay. Close that and open Hometown Bakery CUP-40.
This is a conditional use permit approval request for Hometown Bakery CUP-40 to be located at 412 North Highway 47. Once again, I'd like to ask to make part of the public hearing record the municipal code by reference, the public hearing notices, and my planning and zoning report. On October 3rd, 2014, a request was filed for a conditional use permit approval for a bakery restaurant to be located at 412 North Highway 47. This property is zoned RC1 Planned Business District. This conditional use permit approval request has been submitted by the applicant along with a site plan approval request as required per section 405.340 C8 of City Code. Motion for approval passed 9-0 with 1 absent at the November 6, 2014 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, with the condition that upon written permission from the property owners on the east side of the alley adjacent to the site plan, the applicant installs a fence that extends the full length of the owner's property, and the proposed fence is in compliance with the fence regulations per City Code requirements.
Anybody from the public?
For the record, again, Bart Corman with Lewis and Beatty Surveyors and Engineers, Bart Berneking Architects as well. Same process here, just in a separate public hearing, and answer any questions that you may have and go into more detail during the regular scheduled meeting.
Okay. Anybody else from the public? Alderman? We'll close, hearing none. We'll close that and open a hearing for Downtown Apartments SP-89.
This is a site plan approval request for the downtown apartments, SP-89, to be located at 211 through 219 East Boonslick. Once again, I'd like to ask to make part of the public hearing record the municipal code by reference, the public hearing notices, and my planning and zoning report. On October 7th, 2014, a request was filed for site plan approval for apartments to be located at 211 through 219 East Boonslick. This property is zoned C2, General Commercial. Per Appendix A, 1 residential, A, household living, 6 apartments. The conditional use permit is required. This site plan approval request has been submitted by the applicant along with the conditional use permit CUP 41 approval request as required per section 405.340C8 of City Code. The motion for approval passed 7-0 with 1 absent and 2 abstentions at the November 6, 2014 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting with no additional conditions.
Anybody from the public?
I'm Teresa Scott. I'm one of the applicants, and we just would like to take some commercial space and renovate it to make it some residential space. And I'd be happy to answer any questions if you had any.
Anybody else? Hearing none, we'll close SP 89 and open downtown apartments CUP-41.
This is a conditional use permit approval request for the downtown apartments CUP-41 to be located at 211 through 219 East Boonslick. I'd like to ask to make part of the public hearing record the municipal code by reference, the public hearing notices, and my planning and zoning report. On October 7, 2014, a request was filed for conditional use permit approval for apartments to be located at 211 through 219 East Boonslick. Property is zoned C2 General Commercial. The conditional use permit approval request has been submitted by the applicant along with the site plan approval request as required per section 405.340C8 of City Code. Motion for approval passed 7-0 with 1 absent, 2 abstentions at the November 6, 2014 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting with no additional conditions.
Anybody from the public?
Teresa Scott, and again, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Was that house originally all residential?
Originally, the main floor was residential,
Okay.
and the basement was actually the hospital, if you go way back.
Really?
More recently, it was Dr. Crespo's offices.
I remember that. I just
Mhm.
didn't know prior to him that was.
Yeah, it was a hospital at one point, so
So we had a hospital in Warrenton, we lost it.
we did.
Okay. Thank you, Teresa.
Anything else?
Anybody else? Hearing none, we'll close the downtown apartments CUP-41. At this time, I'd like to open the Board of Aldermen meeting. All stand and do the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Someone's going to do an introduction for the new building inspector.
Yes, Board, I'd like to introduce Kenneth Huffman as the building inspector with a start date of November the 10th.
Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. Thank you. Approval of minutes. Special meeting minutes for November 4th, 2014.
Make a motion, we approve the special meeting minutes for November 2004.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Ock, second by Alderman Holly to approve the minutes for the special meetings of November 4th, 2014. Roll call vote.
Alderman Dreyer is absent. Alderman Schluter is absent. Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes. Maybe I ought to back up and take care of some of that business. Well, we're missing 2 aldermen, Alderman Jim Dreyer and Eric Sluter. Maybe I got it right that time.
Yeah, very good.
Thank you. Okay, let's continue on. Approval of minutes, regular board meeting from November 4th, 2014.
Make a motion that we approve the regular board meeting minutes from November the 4th, 2014.
Second.
Motion was made in second to approve the minutes for the regular board meeting of November 4th, 2014. Roll call vote.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes. Executive session meetings from November 4th, 2014.
I make a motion, we approve the executive session meeting minutes from November 4th, 2014.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Holly, second by Alderperson Casterly to approve the minutes from the executive session of November 4th, 2014. Roll call vote.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
At this time, we allow the public, if they have anything they'd like to bring before the board, we give you 5 minutes. Would anybody like to come forward? Hearing none, the same is given to the Board of Aldermen. Alderman Ock, would you?
Yes. Apparently, the city has received a number of phone calls about the orange ribbons around town, inquiring what that's about. And for most of you, this is a Hunger and Homeless Awareness Week in the city, and actually the whole month is geared toward hunger projects. And so they're in support of Agape Ministry. Agape Ministry is the food shelter. There's one in Warrenton, there's one in Wright City, and they feed approximately 1,200 people a month, half of which are children. And so they're trying to draw awareness to the community as to what those needs are. And there are several events that are going to occur that if you might find it interesting. One, on Wednesday night, there's going to be an open house at the food pantry, and they're going to kind of walk you through what it's like to go through the food pantry, how they process clients, how they process food. You might find that of interesting. There's going to be photographs about what hunger looks like in Warren County, not hunger in some other place in the world, but hunger in Warren County. So that's our presentation you can look at. And additionally, they did a project with the kids at the grade school where the kids made posters. And so there's over 90 posters that the kids made, and they got various prizes for doing the posters. And those posters are going to be displayed at the clothing store, which is on the North Service Road. And you can go in, see the posters, see the work of the kids, and get familiar with the store. The store basically sells merchandise extremely cheap, gives merchandise to clients of Agape, and all the proceeds are used to buy food for the county and support the food. So this is kind of an emphasis on that area and an emphasis on hunger in our community and homelessness, because homelessness does exist in Warrenton and Warren County, and this is an effort to try to make the community aware of it and get support out. So that's the purpose of the orange ribbons.
I've been telling it's all deer season.
Well, it could be too. You can take the ribbon off afterwards
Yeah.
and tie it on and go deer hunting.
I have clarified that that's not the case, though. That's all I was going to talk about as well.
I don't have anything to give.
One other thing, Thursday night, there's several restaurants in town. If you want to go eat at the restaurants, part of the proceeds from your meal will be given to support Agape. They include Applebee's, Brewski's, Denny's, El Jimador. Who else we got supporting here? Mike's Poorhouse Pub and Grill, Emos, and in Wright City, what's the name of the Mexican
Ruiz?
restaurant? Yeah, they're supporting it. So there's a lot of restaurants you can go to. A percentage of what you buy there will be given to the food pantry. So we ask the community to go out and support that also.
I'd like to add to Agape's what they've been doing. I went to a dinner auction recently, and I was never so proud of the people of Warrenton, the business leaders. Their generosity was overwhelming, what they did that day, and it was just really great to see. I didn't know there was that many people in town that was really had an interest in it, so I thought that was great. Go down to item 7, presentation of audit results. Dum-da-dum.
Good evening. My name is Alan Schulte. I was the manager on the audit again this year. You guys should have received financial statements and a management report in your packets, and then a paper one tonight, I believe. Again, as usual, you received an unqualified opinion, which means the statements are fairly presented in accordance with GAAP. We made no audit adjustments again this year. Your accounting records are in great shape. Your staff here does a great job. And you really have one of the better staffs that I deal with on an annual basis. So, hats off to them on that. I was just going to hit a couple financial highlights in the statement. You had about an $80,000 increase in total taxes when you look at all the funds together. So that's sales, property, and utility. They were all up just a little. They kind of split the increase amongst them. So that was good. You had a $500,000 contribution of roads. So in the government-wide statements now, if when a subdivision turns over roads or something like that, they consider that a contribution, and then it's depreciated over the life of the road in the government-wide statements. So they won't show up on the fund statements, kind of the stuff you guys talk about on a monthly basis. It's that kind of condensed, all-inclusive government-wide statement. Admin expenses were up $92,000, and that was kind of partially due to having to pay for the state audit and partially due to an increase in the trash fees. Police were down $129,000, which was entirely in salaries and benefits, and you kind of were short police staff through most of the year, 2.5 people during a lot of the year. Which also resulted in a $75,000 decrease in fines for the year. So, and the fines have kind of been on a downward trend kind of over the last 3 or 4 years. Total expenses were down $370,000 across all the funds, but up $1,000 when you take out capital and debt. So a lot of that was bigger projects last year, maybe smaller projects this year when it comes to like road construction or what have you. So when you're talking kind of normal reoccurring expenses, you still only had a $1,000 increase though, so that's pretty good. Although a lot of that was kind of the short staff in the police department. When you look at the general fund balance, you have enough fund balance to cover 336 days of general fund expenses. So, you're almost like right at that 1 year mark, which is pretty solid. You might have noticed a prior period adjustment. That was kind of a goofy thing with the Nike store. I'm sure you guys talked about that at some point, where they continue to pay sales tax over to the city after they closed the store for a couple years before somebody caught it. So you in essence had to pay that back then. So that's why that's taken out. The water and sewer on page 22, the water and sewer fund cash flow statement. You had an increase in cash in water and sewer of $90,000. So the charges, when you look at the cash flow from the operations, you see that you had a fairly big number there. But the thing to kind of keep in mind, that the operations also have to cover, repair, like fixed asset additions and principal payments and things like that. So once you covered all that, then you really only had a net plus of $90,000. So, if you look at the income statement, it might look like, oh, we had all this extra revenue, but there's some non-expense items that has to pay for it. During the year, you retired $330,000 in debt in the water and sewer fund and $270,000 in general government. And all the departments were under budget in the general fund, so good job there. In the management report, basically that just says, we're issuing an opinion on the financial records that you guys are providing us. We didn't have any disagreements with management and things like that. There's a couple graphs in there that show some 5-year history. If you kind of look, sales tax, not much change from 5 years ago to today. It was only up 2.5%. Utility tax was up 41% compared to 5 years ago, so that was pretty significant. As rates increase, you guys get a bigger share because it's a percentage of what customers pay. So Ameren's increase is also your increase in essence. Property tax, again, only a 6% increase over 5 years ago. A couple of the other kind of large aberrations, in 2012, charges for service, you can see there's a big bump, and that's when the city started having to charge for trash service. So that's in that number. And then in 2011, licenses, permits, and fines, there was a big bump, and that was just a big increase in fines that year that's kind of been working its way down over the last 4 years. The next page is expenditures. Admin expenses were up 11%. Police was down 1% over that 5-year period. Streets were down 25% over that 5-year period. Cultures and Rec and Planning and Development, pretty much no change. Capital outlays, that number will kind of vary a lot from year to year just based on what your plans are for different projects. And debt service is kind of just slowly decreasing over that period. The last one, water and sewer. Revenues were up 13% over that 5-year period, and expenses were up 6%. But again, kind of going back to that cash flow mentality, there's a lot more you have to cover besides expenses. There's debt and capital items. So, just because the increase in revenues seem to outpace the increase in expenses doesn't mean that the cash flow increases weren't up as well. Any questions?
I have no questions, I have comments.
Okay.
So, since I do this for a living, typically, first thing I always look at is the management letter. And I think you mentioned that in the course of the audit, they had no difficulties in dealing with the management and performing and completing the audit. They identified no unknown or likely misstatements, and there was no disagreements in the course of the audit. So I think that is something you always look for in your management reports, and kind of tells you how the staff works with the audit team. So I think that's very good to see that. The next thing I traditionally look at is the statement of cash flows, because sometimes you can have a great financial statement, but if you spend all your cash on projects, you don't have the cash. And I always remember being in practice when you go to the gas station owner or whoever and say, look at your profit, and he'd open his checkbook and say, where is it? Well, it's because capital items don't flow through the normal financial statement. So it's good to see cash flow. The other thing I always look at is reserves. So the city definitely has a healthy reserve number, so in any ups and downs and things, the city should be able to handle. So I think over and all, I think it was a good audit, good report, and want to thank staff for their time and effort, because I know when you go through audits, it's a distraction from your normal day, and there's a lot of prep time. So kind of want to recognize Gabrielle for her work on this. And the other question I guess I have for Terry is, how do we get this information to the public? I think the charts would be great at some point in time for people to see, but having access to the audit for people who request it, I don't know what we traditionally do, if it's on the website or they just have to contact City Hall.
They can do either, but we do put it out on the website, so it's available for anyone who wants to look at it through that means. Or they can certainly contact City Hall and we'll be happy to provide the information. One of our plans, though, is we're working now on putting together a semi-annual sort of newsletter to all of the city residents. And our plan was to include kind of a summary in that first newsletter, which we're planning on having out in January. So the opportunity would be good to include some of the graphs and those kinds of things.
Yeah, I think that'd be excellent if we could do that. And I have to say, for people from the public, if you do have a copy of the audit and there are questions, you can either approach Terry, or I certainly be more than happy to receive a phone call and do my best to explain it. Although, I think if you look at a governmental audit, it's a lot thicker than you normally would think it would be. So there's about 20 different ways to look at everything, and they give you all that. So I'd be happy to discuss any of that with anyone from the public who had a question, or they could go to Terry or Gabrielle and do that also. So, and again, thank you for your work on this for the team. It's really important for public confidence that these audits come out good. That's all I have.
Anybody else from the board?
Do we need to take a motion to accept the audit, or is that?
We've never done that in the
No,
past.
okay, that's fine.
I think Gary said it all. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Al.
Item number 9, or item number 8, request close the road. Anybody have anything on that? If you give us your name.
Melissa Booth, owner of Madame Voodoo's House of Ink, and I'm representing the Downtown Association, and we're requesting a permit for the parade for Hometown Christmas that would require the roads to be closed from Thurman down West Main Street to City Hall, Morgan.
So this is something we traditionally do, and the businesses in the downtown area are notified of this, so there's nobody squawking saying, my customers couldn't get to my store because the road was closed.
Actually brings more people down.
Yeah, it's minimally invasive. It's an hour. The parade lasts for maybe 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes.
So is the hour typical? Is that what we've always done? Is that enough?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve the request to close Thurman Street from Main to Oak from 6 to 7 p.m. and Main Street from Troy to Morgan from 6 to 7 p.m. for the Hometown Christmas Parade on December the 5th.
Second.
Motion by Alderperson Casterly, second by Alderman Holly to close the roads from Thurman Street to Main to Oak and down Main Street from Troy to Morgan. This thing goes on forever. For the Hometown Christmas Parade. Roll call vote?
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Motion passed 4-0.
Thank you.
Here. Item 9, discussion of Veterans Memorial Parkway.
Well, this is kind of an interesting issue from my perspective. For the public, I think we're talking about the maintenance of the South Service Road from basically the tire company down to Napa, or
To the car store.
to the car store. And historically, the city has done maintenance on it, and discussions basically about turning it back to the state highway, so the state highway can do maintenance on it. And the road is kind of split. Part of it is in Truesdale, part of it's in Warrenton. And we think annually, it hasn't cost us a whole lot to maintain it, but if the road is to be upgraded, I think they projected out or today I got an email from Terry saying that they thought it would be a capital project of about $174,000 in nature to bring the roads up to speed. And so I guess our decision is, do we turn it back to the state or do we keep it ourselves? Does that frame it up?
Well, we can't keep it all ourselves because half of the road belongs to Truesdale.
Well, we could keep our half and fix our half. Or,
Have a one-lane road.
so John, you visited with the mayor of
I
Truesdale?
visit with the mayor of Truesdale, and he's looking at it, if I understood him correctly, a little different. He's looking at the city of Truesdale property or city limits don't start till the very south edge of the Veterans Memorial Parkway.
That's correct.
So he claims so who owns the,
It is no man's land between the center of Veterans Memorial and the south edge of the roadway belongs to no one, according to the survey that we had done.
But then the businesses on one part of the road are in Truesdale, and those taxes are going to Truesdale,
Correct.
the sales tax. So the benefit of those businesses are going to Truesdale, but the actual road itself is no man's land.
South of the Parkway is Truesdale.
Right, that's what I just said. So
And what are the repairs that we're proposing?
It is to grind and overlay the roadway.
yeah, I think I drove it before the meeting, and if you drive it, the north side of the road is in pretty bad shape in a lot of those places. It looks like over time we've done a lot of patching. South side isn't as bad, but there's no curb or gutter on either side, so you're dealing with ditches and stuff like that. So they would grind the whole stretch, even into no man's land. And
Well, that's included in this cost, is the entire area. And remember that the area between Highway 47 and roughly Warrenton Tire, the city of Warrenton has both sides of the road. So really, the part that's in question is just from Warrenton Tire out to the car store.
And how we acquired this was from 1965, an agreement.
In 1965, there was a maintenance agreement between the city of Warrenton and MoDOT to maintain that part of the roadway.
And at that time, MoDOT was wanting to condemn the road and not do anything with it. That's why the city.
I've heard that, but we don't have any documents to say specifically, we don't have anything documented to say that that was the case. But yes, I have heard that from multiple.
Which over time became a valuable part of both
Right.
for the city and for the state.
which likewise, if we look at that same strip of road going west, so from Highway 47 going west towards the outlet mall, whose responsibility is that?
I believe that that was a component of the original management agreement.
So all those improvements up and down that road the city did, or did MoDOT do the improvement?
MoDOT has taken care of that.
Right. So that's kind of where I'm going, is if MoDOT did all the improvements west on the same strip of that highway, what makes that different than the east side with the same road?
I'm going totally from memory that there was grant funds used to do the west part.
To do the west part.
right, that's probably, I think you're right, I remember that too. Because when they did the widening of Highway 47, they only were gonna go so far east and west, but the idea was to extend the road and improvements all the way down to the outlet center.
Right.
So there had to be additional funding found for that, but we never really pursued anything going east at that time. Well, but the unknown here is if the city turns the maintenance over to the highway department, we have no control over when and if they'll ever repair the road. I mean, we can assume for safety reasons, they would come in at some point in time and do hopefully a major overlay, or maybe they do what the city's gonna do, but that's just up in the air, right?
I don't think there's any guarantee that anything would be done.
So if we want to improve it, or we want to fix the road, then we really have to do it out of our pocket. You could, in theory, go ask Truesdale to throw some money in, but they're not saying that's their road, so.
Well, could they if it's not in their city limits?
Well, yeah, if they're saying that's not the road, then we don't have it. So it's a question that in my mind is, do we want to turn it over to the highway department and they'll fix it whenever they get around to it, or?
Or we could say the same thing, we're only responsible for half of the road. So since,
Well-
so I mean, that argument from Truesdale doesn't really work either. I mean, because it's not our property going up to their businesses.
But it's not their property neither.
No, but it's their businesses that need the road, so.
That could be, but you can't spend money outside the city limits.
Then how can we?
Then we can't either. Because it's not in our city limits, it's no man's
Yeah, how
land
can
between
we
the
do
two of
it?
it.
That was a good point.
You can do the half of the road that's in the city limits.
Or, but we can't do the other part, because it's not in the
You
city
can't
limits.
do the part outside the city limits.
So we're only gonna do a strip of the road and then half of the next strip.
So if you're coming into the city, it's a great trip. If you're leaving the city, going anyway, we don't care what the road's like.
Exactly.
Is that how that works?
Exactly.
So how do we give that portion back that's not in our city limits?
Well,
How do
we
we-
have to give the whole section of road back, and we've had that discussion. That's why this was brought up this summer. We had that discussion of just giving the entire road back to MoDOT because we're stuck in this quandrum of only being able to fix half of the road. And since it is a MoDOT stretch of property, and it's an important stretch of property, when you don't have an extra overpass here, we gotta find a way to get people on and off that highway, and it gets used there all the time. So it's important to MoDOT to have that piece of property, that piece of road available. But, I mean, I don't know how we, as a city, can take on fixing half of a road unless we determine that we want to build a bigger road north in our city limits and forget about the south part of that road and make it a gravel, shoulder. I
Well,
don't know.
you could extend your city limits if
Yeah.
that's what you wanted to do. You could extend your
You could assume-
boundary
Yeah.
to meet
Okay.
Truesdale's northern boundary, if you chose to do that, and then you could spend the money to fix the road.
I mean, my first inclination on this was to give it back to the state, because it's their problem. But it's also a part of the community. I mean, it's the quality of road, it impacts the businesses, whether the businesses are in Truesdale or the businesses are in Warrenton. It is, I mean, if you drive that stretch, it is problematic for some of those businesses. Certainly when you pull into their operations, you come out of the road and it's speed up. So I think we have a greater interest, in my thinking, to actually do it. And if you're gonna do it, you have to take over the other half of the road.
Right.
And
Does-
that's,
I'm sorry.
I mean,
I agree with you completely. Does Truesdale have any desire to take that half and to partner with us?
It was not discussed, but probably not.
Should we confirm that before we?
I would confirm it, talk to him first, yes.
I think we've had that discussion, though. Didn't we have that discussion this summer? I thought we
Not
had that.
officially.
I believe Mayor Dyer may have had some discussions with Mayor Brewer, but my suggestion would be that we send a formal letter to the city
That's what-
of Truesdale
yes.
and get a formal
Yeah.
response back.
Right.
Yeah,
So that there is something on record.
Yes.
I agree.
yeah. I thought he had done something a little more formal, but,
I have not seen any correspondence of that nature.
okay.
so maybe what we ought to do is defer the decision until we get something back from Truesdale, then we can make a decision on what we want to do. Because if we sit here tonight and say, oh, we'll do the whole thing, well, then there's no point mailing the letter.
Right.
Then I don't know that we'll even support that at all, or can get it through the council anyway, so.
Yeah, I mean, that's a
think we
big
need to
chunk of change.
Yeah, I think we need to try to seek their participation first.
So would your recommendation then be that we send a letter to Truesdale asking them if they would be willing to participate
Right.
in, if they have an interest in annexing that into their city so that they can participate? And then
And
also
it-
suggest in that letter that if they don't, then we we possibly would pursue annexing it? Or leave that out?
Or possibly
Return.
pursue returning it to MoDOT. I mean, I think those are the two options.
Okay.
So I don't think it's at this point a given that we're going to do it. I mean, we haven't budgeted for this project, the money wasn't
I don't think
allocated.
it's not a budgeted project.
Yeah.
It is a budget.
It is a
project.
budget.
Oh, we
project.
did budget for it?
Yes,
The whole amount?
yes.
Okay. Well, at least that money's in there if we need to do it.
And in your letter, can you estimate what their portion would be?
Yes.
So that they know what they're being asked?
I think it would build a better relationship between the two towns if we could work together on this
I do too.
project. And I know that's easy for me to say because we're the ones asking for the money, but it seems a lot of times we get requests for us to give up things and we don't go ask them to assist us often. So I think this might be something, a big enough project that we could actually build a good working relationship with.
Is there anything else? So, table it for now, send the letter to Truesdale.
Mhm.
Got it.
Okay. There's nothing else to discuss on that. Item number 10, Terry?
My first item for you this evening is a report on the 2014 pool operation. You have a couple of different pages. One is the statistical summary from the pool. Possible days of operation were 89 days in 2014, which was down a little bit from the year before, just because of the way the calendar fell. We had total visitors of 13,302, which was down about 2,000 from the prior year, partly because of, again, the shorter period of time that the pool was open. The net revenues and expenses netted together of the pool the loss was a little bit less than last year, about 20,000 less. When you add the capital improvements into that, total net cost of the pool is about $106,000. It is typical that the pool between operations and capital runs somewhere in the $100,000 loss range. That's very typical of most years. We usually have some kind of major improvements or repairs that need to be done. The pool is aging, and as it ages, there are more significant repairs that have to be made every spring in order to keep the pool operating effectively. There are some things I think that we need to consider for our upcoming 2015 year. The first of those is that there were complaints this year received, most of which were related to management of the pool, some staffing issues, some customer service type issues, problems with swim lesson scheduling. I attribute that to the fact that we have some basic teenagers that are pool managers over there. I think with a qualified manager on staff over there, we would eliminate a good portion of the complaints that we receive on the pool. So one of the considerations for next year is if you would consider allowing me to ask the management company to pursue an adult pool manager. It would probably have additional expense to get an adult, but I think the overall improvement in the operation would make it a much more satisfactory experience for our pool customers.
And
So
a safer one.
I would like to pursue that now with the pool company and put them on notice that we're really seeking an adult pool manager for next year.
I think that's an
Yeah.
excellent
Yeah,
recommendation.
I'm 100% with that.
I am too.
Great.
We all agree.
The next thing is to talk about the hours that we reduced the pool for last season. It had been recommended to reduce the hours from noon to 7 p.m. each day, and we did that, thinking that it would significantly increase pool parties and/or swim lessons or aerobics. We really did not see that. Pool parties were up an increase of 5 parties. Lessons were up only 40 lessons. That's not really a significant increase, I think. Daily receipts were down some. We believe that probably the reduced hours had some impact on that. The change, however, to open the pool only on weekends after school starts was positive. When you looked at the number of swimmers that would have been there during the day, that absolutely was the right move to make and had a positive impact on the expense of having the pool open and no swimmers there. For consideration for next year, I think is moving the pool hours back to the original schedule, which was Monday to Thursday from noon to 8, and then Friday and Saturday from noon to 9 p.m. for the regular schedule from Memorial Day through the start of school. We kept records of how many swimmers were in the pool at closing time. There was a big range. Lowest shown was 3, high was 83, which was on a Saturday. So, and many days everywhere in between. An average of 24 swimmers if you average that whole period. I think the impact that I really see, and from the complaints that I heard, are related to working parents that don't get home until 6 o'clock. If the pool closes at 7, it's not really worthwhile for them to go over and utilize the pool. Whereas if they've got at least a couple of hours that they can go over and take the kids and swim, they do see that as positive. So I think the consideration is, given the fact that reducing the hours didn't really accommodate a great deal more of parties or lessons, do we want to put those hours back to what they originally were? And understand there will be some additional expense because that's a couple more hours every day that we're going to have guards. If I remember correctly, the projection was about $5,000 that we saved by cutting those hours back. So in the scheme of the operations of the pool, to make that a more positive experience for those people, particularly that have season passes, I think would be part of what we need to consider.
Yeah, well, I think expanding the hours back to where they were is a good idea. I never really quite understood why we were reducing the hours to begin with, because, we have a large commuting population in Warrenton, and in getting home and getting your kids up to the pool and doing a family thing is critical, but when you're coming in at 6 o'clock, that doesn't really allow you, and I think that was a legitimate complaint by people. So I have absolutely no problem moving the hours up, to the original hours for closing. And if you average 23 kids at closing, the impression you got was when we closed, there was hardly anybody in the pool, and the guards were standing around, there's more guards than were people in the pool. That's certainly not indicative of the numbers we see, so.
And that was true. On some days,
On
like
some
I
days.
say, a low of 3. Yeah, there were probably 3 or 4 guards and
Right.
3 people in the pool. But I think you have to look at through the whole period of time that we looked at the data. 24 is a significant number, and with 83 people in the pool, I just don't know how you close the door.
That was that 105-degree day.
That could be.
Terry, can you offer lessons while the pool's still open and just designate a part of the pool for lessons? Because I know that that's one of the issues, is waiting until 9 o'clock to start lessons.
I
Can that
can't
be looked
answer
at?
that question without consulting with the pool management people, but I think it's certainly a question that we could ask.
Sure.
Could we rope off a part of the pool and use
Right.
that when those
Right.
numbers are lower later in the evening? So I think in our discussions, we would ask that question.
Okay.
Anybody else? And then on the terms of the passes, selling 10-day passes, no, I think we do whatever we can to market. So if
That was
people-
my feeling. We get a lot of questions about parents who want an ability, they don't want to buy a season pass because they don't think they'll use the pool that many days. But is their ability to prepay for a certain number of days? And we just don't have a means. And I think a lot of times they want to be able to drop the kids off at the pool, but they don't want to give them cash, or they need a pass for the babysitter to use when the babysitter's going to take the kids to the pool. I think this 10-day pass that can be used by anyone, once it's paid for, accommodates a lot of different issues that we've had and gives us an ability to provide them with something.
And then what do we do, just hole punch it when they come in?
Yeah, it looks
punch
just
like a punch card?
like a season pass, except it has 10 little slots around it.
Okay.
And each time it's used, it's punched, and when all the slots are punched, it's done. So, I'd like to discount that a little bit and make it $25 for 10 days. and then do some marketing and put it out there as a new option, and along with the fact that we're moving the hours back to the original hours, and hope that we can stir some interest in getting back to the pool.
Okay.
Anybody else? Sounds good.
The only other thing I have for you is just to let you know officially that the CenturyTel settlement, our claim has been approved. The attorneys who've represented us on that Cunningham, Vogel, and Roast have given us that notification. It looks like that our initial settlement will be about $114,000, which Alderman Ock has already spoken for.
Yeah, I emailed her first saying, if nobody else has requested the funding for projects, I'll use them for the ones I want. And she said, it's fine, and no one else has.
I
didn't know that's the way it worked.
I was making my list till approved.
Oh, is that what it was?
Twice.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Good try.
Hey,
You gotta learn to share.
Can't come through the door till
well,
it's legally open.
I'm already old enough to have figured that out.
Probably more important than the initial settlement is the fact that this now sets us up so that we will continue receiving payments in the future. Had we not gotten this claim and gotten it approved, there would have been no future payments from the phone company. So it sets us up for that. There will be some attorney's fees. The agreement was that it's a class action settlement, so they were going to hold the fees to see so that only the cities who actually win their settlement get billed. And so the other side of that is we will now see a bill from the attorneys. What I've seen right now is about $8,000, but it well is offset by the 114 and the ability to collect the fees moving forward. So this has been going on now for a couple of years, so it's nice to finally have it resolved. That's all I have for you this evening.
Anybody else have any questions or anything? Okay. Let's move down to item 11, Maintenance and Grounds Director. Brad?
I have my monthly report for you. Mowing is kind of winding down now, and we're so are the grinding leaves and kind of getting into the snow removal part now. So
There's never a break, is there?
yeah.
This
so.
77 3/4 hours on cleaning restrooms and trash is, I mean, how much of that's restroom and then, I mean,
All of it.
Really? Is that all in the park?
Well, a lot of the times my hours don't go into this, which I'm going to start putting in here, because dawned on me that what I do is I have my guys all fill out they fill out their time sheet, but then we have another sheet so I can kind of keep this track, and didn't notice it till I was doing the restrooms when some of the other guys were doing something that my hours never get counted in any of this. So
all of those orange bows next month we'll see under decorations, removal, and setup. Huh?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was better than having me do it, because then there would have been pole maintenance repair.
Yeah.
Can we just put the Christmas lights up when we take those down?
There you go.
Do
We
I?
could leave them up through Thanksgiving.
Leave the orange up until it's time to put the Christmas up.
Well, actually, we're starting Christmas is starting tomorrow.
Oh.
But we're going to leave the orange bows up. That's something we can wrap the things around. We'll take those off later after the end of the week.
Okay.
So that's no problem.
All righty.
I've been asked by a couple people, when do we anticipate the basketball court having the baskets up?
Well, we were going to do it this week, and then the cold weather and the stuff, we're ready to go. We've got them setting up here. We just got to get it a day when we can get up there to do it. We've been trying to get some other stuff done, and the cold weather kind of got us. So.
And when do we anticipate the contractor being done over the tennis courts?
Well, we were going to pour tomorrow, but our ground is frozen, so we've got it set up for Wednesday of next week. It's the only time we can get the concrete pump is scheduled for till Tuesday next week. So Wednesday we're going to do that, and then we should have that all in front done. Then we can open the tennis courts back up.
Yeah, because I think it looks pretty good.
It looks good. We still have a cap we ran into some little changes up there, but we're gonna have to pour some concrete up on top there where the fence is gonna go, and a few other things. But once we get that down below where the people can get in down there, that won't take long at all. Then they can open it up.
It looks good when it's done. Sweet.
Yeah, the weather's not cooperating on trying to get the little stuff done. If nobody has any more questions about that, next thing I have is a couple of items to be sold. One is our old 94 cargo van, one of the old charter communications vans that was bought years and years ago, finally is playing out. And also the old city Chevy van that went to animal control. When theirs went out, it's had some problems, so they're wanting to get rid of it. So those are the two items there to be sold.
Do we have to make a motion to do that? I'll make a motion that we approve the items to be for sale, the 1994 Ford F-250 and 1997 Chevy van.
Second.
Motion made by Alderperson Casterly, second by Alderman Ock to sell, I don't have the items in front of me, the equipment listed, the 94 Ford and a 97 Chevy van. Roll call vote?
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yep.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Motion passed 4-0.
Next thing I have is Nick Bielik is a Eagle Scout here in town, and it's been a few months back that we came to before the board and asked about doing a project. And what he did, the picture you have up here is down at the Lakeview Park up on the bank behind the dugouts. Made a nice sitting area up there for spectators and stuff to sit at. Did an excellent job of building them. Did it all himself. Got the material and everything. Got that. I just wanted to show that to y'all. Let y'all know that he did have that done. Got her finished and did a nice job.
Do we going to send a letter to him acknowledging?
He already brought it in and we signed it, and we'll take care of that too, though. But we will. So I had to sign off on his Eagle Scout project for him. So,
Great.
but well, very well pleased. So.
Great.
Very nice.
Next thing I have is, this was brought to our attention that the Christian Faith Church, Faith Christian Family Church was wanting to sell. They apparently had a burger bash out there, and this skate ramp and stuff was built, and the minister, Tony Tiller, wanted to know if the city would want to buy it. And I talked to Terry, and she wanted me to go out and take a look at it and see how it was, what it was and what it was constructed. It's all handmade. Problem is the wood and stuff is, if it was inside, it might hold up, but I just don't see any place that we could use this in the thing. There's some hand railings and stuff that's would need to be put on, and it's just something I don't think we'd be interested in. I think we'd have a liability from the construction part of it.
I think it was a very nice offer for them to bring it to the city.
Right.
But I agree, this is a liability that I don't think we want to take on.
Right. Yeah.
And I wouldn't mind if the park board were to come to the city and say we need to have a skate park and put equipment up, because several communities do that. I think that would be a great idea, but this looks like it'd be a maintenance nightmare.
Yeah, everything is not meant. If we had a place inside to put it, it would probably be something we could maybe try to see about, but outside, I don't think it would last.
The maintenance and the liability.
Yeah.
I think send them a letter and thank them very much, would be my opinion.
Right.
But no, thank you.
Tony?
I agree.
Okay.
Next thing I have is the tree trimming, tree removal and tree trimming bids for our trim grant. Sent out to numerous ones, and we got 4 of them back. My recommendation is to go with John's Tree Service out of Warrenton for $8,250.
I make a motion that we accept the bid from John's Tree Service from Warrenton, Missouri for $8,250 as recommended from the Grounds and Maintenance Director.
Second.
Motion made by Alderperson Casterly, second by Alderman Ock, to award the tree cutting, trimming to John's Tree Service, Warrenton, Missouri, at $8,250. Roll call vote?
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Man, there's a big difference in those bids.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes, there was.
Any other questions for Brad? No. Hearing none, let's move to item 12. Zoning Officer, Building Commissioner, Jack.
First item I have is my monthly report. I'd like to point out that we have exceeded last year's number on new home starts. We have 5 this year.
It would sound better if you did a percentage. We're 20% higher than we were the year before.
25% higher, yes.
Yeah, they're 25% higher.
Hopefully we'll get 6 before the year's over. If you have no additional questions, the next item I have is the site plan approval request for Hometown Bakery to be located at 412 North Highway 47.
Does anybody have any questions for Jack?
Yeah, I did have some questions. I wasn't able to attend the meeting, but I watched the meeting on TV or on YouTube. And I noted that, I guess like a couple questions. I can't tell off the site plan if there's going to be parking lot lights, and are those lights going to be directed away from the homes behind, or are they going to be directed down, or what the direction of lights is? Is that a consideration in those areas? Is that, I can't tell it off the plan.
Okay. Art's here from Lewis Beatty, who drew the plan. I'm sure he can answer that specifically.
All right.
Yeah. For the record, Bart Corman with Lewis and Beatty Surveyors and Engineers. Also have Bart Berniking Architects here too. We're not proposing any major lights for the parking lot. There'll be some wall packs on the building itself, but we didn't want to overlight the area. And with the planning and zoning meeting, that was a concern from the neighbors too.
Okay.
For the headlights, which we took care of with putting a fence there on the east side of the alley.
The other question I think that came up in one of my notes is I'm convinced, I walked the property and I'm not an engineer, but to me it looks like once you get that parking lot asphalted, that we could have water runoff issues into the alley and going into the backyard of the people whose house is immediately behind there. And I think it's a real legitimate concern. I think we need to address that as part of the ordinance.
We have discussed that, as discussed during the planning and zoning meeting, the plan, the drainage area map and the stormwater plan that was submitted does not show an increase by the numbers, but a site visit with myself and the Director of Public Works, we did have a concern. So, in speaking with the city attorney, we would like to make part of the conditional use permit approval that the applicant would provide a revised stormwater management plan detailing proposed improvements to ensure stormwater flows do not affect the properties adjacent to the alley or Banner Avenue. And part of our concern is that, we're not questioning their numbers that they calculated, that the same amount might be going in the same direction. But we do have concern because that existing garage and some of them properties are physically lower than the alley. That how are we gonna keep from having that water go across and create problems once that parking lot is in? So we would like to make that part of the conditional use approval, that to give them a chance, go ahead and approve the site plan on that tonight, but make it a special condition that they provide some additional information on how they're going to channel that water, and then just not be able to, the revised stormwater management plan must be approved by the city prior to the start of any on-site construction. That way there they can still move forward,
Right.
but it would also protect the residents to make sure that we have a clearer path on where that water's going to go. If that makes sense to you too, Bart.
Yeah, and I can address that. If you see the two entrances that go into the alley, And in between there, there's basically a curb and a gutter section, so the alley's going to be widened out a little bit, and so that will be lower than the existing pavement of the alley now. And so the water coming out of those two entrances will be collected down and go north there on the west side of the alley, where it naturally goes now. So yeah, that has been addressed. That was a concern. We did not want to sheet flow that water across the alley, and so we did.
But if we
do
approve
that.
the ordinance tonight, we still have to have that as a condition.
I would recommend having that in the condition, just to verify that we do not create a problem. And then they can provide a little more detail to ensure that gully will, that gully along the edge of the alley will accomplish the goal.
Okay, and another thing, not necessarily related to the site plan, but I wonder if we need to sit and revisit the policy of maintenance of those alleys that are heavily used because they're transitioning between two places. Because to me, does the city have a little bit more obligation to push snow in that alley since it's got a business exit off of it? No, normally we don't, and we wouldn't. Does the city have more responsibility to make sure that alley's in a little bit better shape than some of them are? So I think it's.
gravel?
Pardon me?
Aren't they gravel?
No, this
No,
one's
it's
not.
Oh, this one is.
So I think we need to maybe think about that as to how we're gonna respond to that, because when you do set up a situation where you have regular traffic that can be going into the alley, maybe we need to make an exception in those cases.
Them items were discussed during P&Z and discussed also with our city attorney. And as far as the snow removal, the city's policy is not to plow snow in the alleys. We would like to make that part of the conditional use approval, that the applicant would provide snow removal in the existing alley just adjacent to their property. So basically just right there where they're coming out, that they would take care of the snow removal.
Well, I have a problem with.
Well, I understand, yeah, I have a problem. I understand what the policy is, but my comment to you is, should we look at changing the policy?
Yes.
Because I don't know where you were going, John, but I don't know that we should make it the obligation of the business to be pushing snow on a public alley or public street.
I have an issue with the public pushing it. There's no where they go with it. They're not gonna be able to keep it on their property. And if they push it on towards somebody else's property and stuff, then there'll be a problem. Plus, just the maintenance of it seems to be an issue. I'm like Alderman Ock. I think it's something we need to look into, especially on those business-type alleys. Not all alleys, but the ones of businesses type things where you get heavily used. There is some safety there.
I have a hard time deciding between business alleys and.
Well, but I think in this case, it's pretty clear. I mean, because I think we can change the policy for specific areas as opposed to trying to make a sweeping, well, if there's 4 businesses on one side, 3 on the other, this is the policy. To me, it's easier just to address what's obviously the need.
Well, I think it's also something to consider, how many alleys do we have that are asphalted in the town that aren't plowed currently? I don't know how many of those that would be, but.
That was my question.
I don't know that we have a ton of alleys.
I don't necessarily say it's a first priority, but
Yeah, that I would agree. I mean, if you're gonna push, you're gonna push the main
The
streets
snow
first.
routes is definitely first. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah,
The
absolutely.
guy's not here, but I know common sense, he's pushing snow routes
Right,
first.
we
in
need to use
secondary
common
streets
sense.
and working his
Right.
way down.
Definitely. All right, so.
And as far as revising a policy regarding Public Works Department, I believe that's something that Guy would probably spearhead.
Oh, Jack doesn't wanna answer
We may be able
that
to still
one.
move forward with addressing these guys' concerns tonight, and if the policy changes to benefit them in the future, I'm sure they would be acceptable to it.
Yeah. Because, I mean, I think we as a city have to have some investment in, in the making sure that people can get to the business too. It's no different than pushing snow on a snow route. That helps people get to their business. This helps people exit the business. So I think we have some obligation. in my
Other than the
mindset.
fact that every time I drive by, I'm gonna want a donut?
Well, that's your problem. See, I would have thought there would be a smell condition, like the person behind you
Yeah.
be concerned about the
Yeah.
smell.
Well,
That would be
I
right.
am really very happy that this building right now, as it is, has been kind of an eyesore. sitting there vacant for this long. So, I mean, I think this is going to be very nice in that strip of town, so I think it'll be really good. I'd like to make the motion, but I'm not really sure how to add all that stuff. Oh, we're not there yet.
That would be part of the conditional use
Okay.
permit approval.
Okay, so we'll do that
The
later.
specific items.
I thought
Yeah,
we
and I would share your comments. To the business owner, I don't know if the business owner is here tonight, I know he was at the P and Z meeting, that we appreciate his interest in making the investment in Warrenton, and particularly in that stretch of town that he's going into that building and rescuing it. That's tremendously appreciated by myself, who happens to live in the neighborhood, to see that development occur, and I certainly would hope you would pass that on to him.
And if, obviously, you watched the meeting, he stressed he was planning on being a good neighbor.
Right. Correct.
And making it a good project for the city.
But he didn't promise to pass out free donuts to anybody.
Can you smell
You can
them?
always dream, no.
All right.
Is there any other questions?
No, thanks, Bart.
Next item I have is conditional use approval, permit approval for the Hometown Bakery. Same location.
We just talked about it.
Yeah, that's what we just talked about, but it's two separate approvals, and there will be an ordinance.
Won't let me make a motion now.
Not
anyway.
yet.
So the amendments go with the first ordinance or the second?
The conditions would go with this, with the conditional use
Okay.
permit
Conditional,
approval.
Second.
Okay.
Any other
I
specific
guess you're going to make
questions
that
on the
motion
conditional
then.
use?
I'm still working.
Is there any other questions?
No.
No?
Next item I have is the site plan approval request for the downtown apartments to be located at 211 through 219 East Boone Slick. And I believe Teresa's here. Do you have any specific questions?
Well, I was going to vote against it and see if Teresa would agree to bring the hospital back into Warrenton. Maybe that's asking for too much, I don't know.
You're more likely to get a donut.
That's true. Good point.
A day old donut, this rate.
If I get enough of them, then I'll have to go to the hospital, you know. I don't have any questions.
I don't know.
Hearing none, we can move on.
Okay, the final item I have is the conditional use permit approval for the downtown apartments. There will also be ordinances for these later for you to approve.
Does anybody have any questions for Jack? Or Karen?
No,
Teresa? Okay, hearing none?
That's it. Thank you, guys.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Chief of Police, Greg.
Did I hear somebody say free donut?
A day old donut.
I'm sorry, I couldn't help it. So the only thing I have tonight is the monthly report from October. Nothing awfully remarkable there. We did just recently have a pretty successful interaction with the Drug Task Force that I can't really talk about to much detail, but things are going well with that, and I'm very pleased with the results. We're still trying to get up to full staff. We're at 20 now, or authorized at 22. So the detectives stay really, really busy trying to do backgrounds, and people keep popping out of the system because of background issues. So, not really a whole lot going on. Any questions?
Any questions? Holly? Hearing none? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bills to ordinance.
Now,
Bill number 65-14.
Is this the one that has we need to put the amendments on, or is that the second one?
The second one.
second
Okay.
The
one.
second one, this is the site plan
All right,
approval.
I would make a motion to introduce bill number 65-14, first reading.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Ock, second by Alderperson Casterly for the first reading of bill number 65-14.
A zoning ordinance is authorized under section 405.390 of the municipal code of the city of Warrenton, Missouri, approving a site plan for Hometown Bakery located at 412 North Highway 47.
Any questions or discussion? Roll call vote.
Yes.
Now we need a second.
We gotta do
Oh,
second
second?
reading.
You
Call
want
for
a
the second and final reading of bill number 65-14.
Second.
I was on a roll.
Motion by Alderman Casterly, second by Alderman Holly, for the second and final reading and passage of Bill number 65-14.
A zoning ordinance is authorized under Section 405.390 of the Municipal Code of the City of Warrenton, Missouri, approving a site plan for Hometown Bakery located at 412 North Highway 47.
Any questions, discussion? Roll call vote.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Motion passed 4-0. Bill number 66-14.
I'd like to introduce Bill number 66-14 with the addition that the applicant review the water runoff issue to be in compliance with what the Public Works Director feels is necessary for the area.
That's already included as item number 5.
Okay.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Ock, second by Alderman.
Were there other conditions, though, that we had
We were
discussed?
supposed to add?
1 through 4 is already in there. Should be on there at the bottom.
Yeah, hold on. Let me get to my page.
Under section 1,
Oh.
the first item addresses the fence.
The fence, okay. It addresses the fence that came up. Does it address everything we discussed, though?
Yes, the fence, snow removal, maintenance, and the stormwater.
Okay.
We're at
So you,
Alderman Ock made let's see.
Call for the
Motion.
first
I
reading.
made first
Call for
reading.
the first reading of, you guys got me all messed up. Alderman Ock made a motion, second by Alderman Holly to, for the first reading of Bill number 66-14.
An ordinance approving the conditional use to allow a bakery restaurant for Hometown Bakery located at 412 North Highway 47.
call for the second and final reading and passage of Bill number 66-14.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Holly, second by Alderperson Casterly for the second and final reading of Bill number 66-14 and passage.
An ordinance approving the conditional use to allow a bakery restaurant for Hometown Bakery located at 412 North Highway 47.
Is there any more questions or discussion? Roll call vote.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Bill number 67-14.
Introduce Bill number 67-14 for the first reading.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Ock, second by Alderperson Casterly for the first reading of Bill number 67-14.
A zoning ordinance as authorized under Section 405.390 of the Municipal Code of the City of Warrenton, Missouri, approving a site plan for downtown apartments located at 211 through 219 East Boonslick.
Call for the second and final reading and passage of Bill number 67-14.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Holly, second by Alderperson Casterly for the second and final reading and passage of Bill number 67-14.
A zoning ordinance as authorized under Section 405.390 of the Municipal Code of the City of Warrenton, Missouri, approving a site plan for downtown apartments located at 211 through 219 East Boonslick.
Any questions or discussion? Roll call vote.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Motion passed 4-0 with 2 absent. Bill number 68-14.
Call for the first reading of Bill number 68-14.
Second.
Motion by Alderperson Casterly, second by Alderman Holly for the first reading of Bill number 68-14.
An ordinance approving the conditional use to allow downtown apartments located at 211 through 219 East Boonslick.
Call for second and final reading.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Ock, second by Alderperson Casterly for the second and final reading and passage of Bill number 68-14. Any questions or discussion? Roll call vote.
I'll read it first.
You want to read it first?
Yes. An ordinance approving the conditional use to allow downtown apartments located at 211 through 219 East Boonslick.
Now, any questions? Roll call vote.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes. Motion passed 4-0 with 2 absent. Adjournment.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Motion by.
She's already out the door.
Casterly, second by Alderman Holly to adjourn.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.